Hello, everyone. Welcome to the weekly creating new user-facing team / default content meeting. Last week on our call, we were working on creating some user stories and wondering on like which level should our user stories be on. And now that I look at the sheet, it seems like we have some new user stories listed there during the past week, which is good. So we have some progress on that. We could probably go through the user stories quickly and get some feedback. Maybe Keith has some ideas, or maybe Christina has some ideas, or maybe someone else has some ideas. Or should we progress with this? Other thing that I just want to give an update is that we have the applications open on groups.drupal.org for applying to be the lead designer / art director of the new team. And we've had during 1 week 2 applications there, which are both pretty good applicants. So we are still looking for getting some more applications in the upcoming week, but we've already had a bunch of applications. So I updated on Friday after 1 day of posting the application, the ending date when people should send their applications. So hopefully everyone saw and noticed that later on that it's been added, that it's not something that they can apply to forever. Yeah, it's a little bit unfortunate that we forgot to add it on the first version, but at least we got it now.
Yeah.
So that's ongoing, and let's see. Hopefully we can find a good designer. So I think the next step is that next week the applications will close. I think me and Christina will be in Switzerland, so maybe we will do a little bit of work related to that in Switzerland. So maybe we can go through the applicants and like maybe give some like create a kind of like a hot list and then send that for someone to see if they agree with that. Something like that, which would help to progress with that. And then we should probably already pretty quickly proceed to making calls with these people on the next week after that, so that we can get the decision made quickly enough. Besides that, I just wanted to ask, so for this applicant, should we reply to all of them that their application has been received? Because right now it might be confusing for them.
Yeah, I should definitely do that.
Yeah. Any preference whether I should do that from my private email or whether I should do that from the public email?
Yeah, it should be the same email, I guess.
I agree.
Yeah. Okay, so I will do it from the same email. That yeah, I guess that's possible. Yeah, it's a bit confusing the way it works right now, because right now it works so that every email that comes in to your mailbox is forwarded to like our personal email accounts. And if I send something from there, that's obviously not visible for anyone else than me. So
Well, you could add us if you want, but I don't think it's necessary anyway. But you could add us as hidden copy.
Yeah, I could do so. Yeah, I just have to do it manually then. But I guess it's fine. Yeah, I will do so. So people can stay up to track what is happening. So that's one thing, and we're still waiting very much what's going to happen on the next week. So let's go back to the user stories. So one thing that I noticed when I was looking at the user stories, they were.
You have a link for that?
Yes, I will send that on the. It's now on the Slack channel. So what I noticed was that we have lots of useful user stories to demonstrate the features of Drupal, but we didn't have any user stories at the moment to kind of actually build a site for the use case that we've chosen. So I don't know, is this list only for things that we want to demonstrate out of Drupal, or should we also create a list of user stories for the actual site? Like, as a user, I want to see recipes or something like that, because of it's a food publishing company.
I guess ideally we should adapt the theme stories, that you were saying, to the ones that are prioritary to show Drupal. I mean, if you want to have a list with promoted stuff in the homepage, then let's make it with, I don't know, with whatever kind of content we need there. I don't know, we'll start trying to prioritize what we want to showcase. Well, any other opinion?
Yes, so for me, it's so we have one list of things that we will build, and some of the things that we build are purely to demonstrate something, and some things are just to try to make the site useful and look probably not useful but to look useful. The site is probably not going to be useful for as many people, at least as a site.
I think the visitor stories might be a little difficult at this stage until we have a firmer handle on exactly the content and what we're doing with the site. But I think starting with the user stories we have now, which are more the demo stories, are good for having a group to at least have like approval from the product team of like, these are the things that are being demonstrated in these ways. And that gives us a good starting point to start thinking about the actual content and design itself.
Yep. So how do you feel about this list that we have right now? Is that extensive enough of the features that we want to demonstrate, or should we keep adding? I guess product management will have its own opinion about that, but
I don't see very much in there. Well, there's the category of content, but I might want to see more of taxonomy.
Could you repeat? There was a little bit of echo for some reason. Why it was very difficult to.
I was saying, from a content author standpoint, I'd like to see maybe a little more that's involving taxonomy.
Oh, I see. Yeah.
Yeah, and on that content author front, media struck me as well. I guess it means we need to consider what features are in core at the point when this theme lands. So obviously, if the media initiative changes quite a few things in core, then there's a great opportunity there to be showing off that as well.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Because at the moment, image insertion, for example, it's there. It's basic if you're talking about CK Editor. But we've also got the opportunity to show off the structured content approach as well, haven't we? You know, an image field. And that being used, for example, where you might want to control, you don't want the author to be concerned with how an image is going to be displayed, you know, whether it's automatically cropped with image styles or whatever, and then issued up in some kind of list for promoting that content. So that's quite a nice, quite a nice set of stories around that as well. All the stuff that's already there in core.
Yeah, if we're going with publishing, we're talking about a pretty media-rich website. So we should have good demos around that.
Yeah. Good point.
So
Yeah, so we'll want to build out a couple of different media types too then as examples.
yep, anyone has ideas what those could be? So we are obviously limited because it's all going to be most likely in the installation package. So we can't really include any super rich media content like video over there, because that would be pretty large to include in the installation package. So we can have images.
Well, you could have video that would be a link to YouTube or somewhere that's hosted.
Yeah, I guess so. But then we have again the problem that I don't know how well it's going to work out if we include YouTube videos. Like, let's say if YouTube changes something, their standards or something like that. I don't know.
Because do you know what's the plan for media going into Core?
No, I don't know.
Okay.
Yeah, so right now shooting for the basic media library and file filled embed is I think 8.4.
Yeah, that means that we could include probably some of that on this demo. But it's probably going to be experimental, and at least what we discussed on the early calls was that we probably don't want to demo too many of the experimental features, because of otherwise we might have the problem that the features are being removed from core because they're experimental still, so they might not stick around. And then on the other hand, if we use too many experimental features, it might put the demo on a little bit of shaky ground, and that's not what we want.
Yeah.
So I'm just so one of the reasons we do this is to enable building a team and enabling creating the data structure, data model for the new site. And for that reason, I personally think that having this very specific user stories as well for this use case would be helpful for someone doing the data model.
Yeah, I think it definitely helps from the perspective. This is what we discussed last week, that from a what is it we're actually demoing perspective, it does make a lot of sense, I think, to have, you know, that sort of base level list of these are actual features, items, you know, types of field that we're going to want to demonstrate. But then also from the other perspective, from the design perspective, we want obviously to be driven by purpose and what it is we want to actually achieve. So that's some of the things that I've been thinking about as well. Just trying to sort of think about the different user roles But for the sake of the list at the moment, it's almost like the list could contain both. So it's probably just a case of keep on building it.
Yeah, so it should be just more extensive list of things, of user stories.
You don't really need user roles. Or were you talking about actual administrator roles or just
Oh,
roles?
sorry. Story roles.
Okay.
Yeah. So the as a column.
Yep, like who are our target audience? Who we want to include on the user stories.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It should be
But
focused
also,
on the author and the visitor.
Yeah, but probably. I think it's difficult to forget the site builder at all. It's still a very important use case for us. And even though I think the main use case is the technical evaluator from like a big organization or something like that, I think we are still going to have a fair amount of like other types of people testing this out, like people who are maybe even technical people want to just test how does Drupal work. So they probably would like to see how easy it is to get started with this. And if we can give experience where the users can very easily make big modifications for the site, I think that would be convincing for them. And we have all of those features out of the box. Like it doesn't really require much from us at all to provide that. Just to make sure that those are enabled on this new installation profile and theme.
Right, but we should be clear that we need to focus on, for example, demoing that Drupal has different field types, right? So we might have content types that utilize all the different field types to demonstrate that they exist and that they're usable for different things. But we don't necessarily have to go too far into demoing how to add and manage the field types. Because then we're then too far into trying to make it be a site builder demo tool, which is more on the back end and not in the front end theme.
Right.
Yeah. I think that makes sense.
I think that's, sorry, yeah, I think that's a really important point, based on the sort of, it wraps up nicely some of the things that have been said in various conversations over the weeks. How we really want to be able to introduce Drupal, and the site builder is important because obviously we don't know where they're coming from. They could be coming from another CMS. They could be hitting points with that other CMS where it's not quite delivering what they need, and Drupal might be doing what they need in core. But yes, it's not tutorial, is it? It's saying this is what you get with Drupal just as a starting point, and that onboarding message.
Yeah, I think both are very good points, and I think we should definitely focus more on like what kind of experience it is, like what kind of site is it possible to build using Drupal, than like trying to show immediately all the different customization ways, and like and instead of showing like or trying to explain first like this is how it actually works, instead just show like this is what you can do with this.
Yeah, so a range of how the content types work in terms of complexity is a potentially good avenue there, I guess. Simple page, basic page, and the sorts of features you might want to use around that, through to the more complex, probably relational content in this scenario's case.
And yeah, we had at some point when we were still working on the farmers market, we had the idea that we will have the tutorial also on Drupal org for the same content model. So then our users could potentially build the demo manually using that tutorial. But I'm not sure if we are going to have that with the new content model, because I don't think any one of us has been saying that they would be interested in building something like that. And I'm not sure if it's even necessary. But just wanted to say that at some point we had a discussion where we actually thought that we would have a full tutorial side by side with the content model that we have. So about the content model, is there, besides a little bit more specific user stories, is there something else that we would like to have? And of course, a prioritization of the different user stories. So besides those two things, is there any other things that we need before we can proceed to start creating the content model for the new site?
Are you asking for more user stories here or for stories for the demo site itself?
I guess we can add them on the same list. I think that's fine. So
Okay. We could share the designs from that were shown to the product manager, and as we said the other day, we could try to find some stories from there.
Yeah.
And discuss the content that is there. Do you have it around?
the design,
The designs.
yeah, I do have them around.
Could share.
I can do that if you want me to.
Yeah, you can do. But before we go to that, so I just wanted to ask: is there any other things that is necessary to get done before we can start working on the content model?
No, I just I only can imagine multilingual here as a feature, but I don't think we want that on a demo site.
That's a
Do we
very
need
good
to?
one.
Sorry, I think my Wi-Fi is playing up. Sorry.
Oh, so I think we should add it on the list, and I think we should make we should let the product management decide whether they wanna,
Okay.
how important it is. And yeah,
Because
that's it.
Yeah, that's a good question.
Sorry,
yeah,
can you
because
repeat that?
Yes.
multilingual, because for example, for us in Barcelona, all the websites that we build are always multilingual. So the first thing
great.
I will search in any CMS will be that, if I can share languages.
Yeah, that's a very, very important one that we've missed, because I think multilingual is one of the very powerful features that we have in Drupal.
Yeah, it's also a really complex thing to manage well and have default content, and to have default content in 2 different languages.
That's
Well, we could demo right to left languages also. Let's make it a little bit even more difficult.
one of the other things I was thinking about reading through these stories was just sort of trying to imagine how this might work from the installation perspective, and if you're demonstrating different roles, for example, how the demo would actually make it clear that you can log in under different roles, and what areas do we need to cover for that? That feels like needs to be stories potentially around that aspect as well. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it makes sense that it's a problem that it's undefined. How can we demonstrate the specific things? Like some of them are very straightforward, but let's say, especially the roles one is one of them that is more like, well, if we want this, how are we actually going to make it obvious for the site builders that this has like multiple different roles? Because like if you don't do anything, the whoever is trying the site as a site builder would have to first create user with the correct roles, and then after that they would have to log in for that user. And probably they wouldn't even have any idea what is user roles. What does it mean? So
yeah, because it can come later when you already decide that this is one of the most important features. But
yeah,
well, we can discuss it now.
I think my opinion is that it is not necessarily the most important feature. So probably we don't have to think about that. But if it's priority 3, like must have, well, I guess we can have that on the front page then, if it's that important. I don't know. Yeah, but that makes sense that that some of these ones, if we want to make them, they will need more thinking. Like, how can we actually achieve that?
Yeah.
And especially for that one, I don't have any ideas at this point. How could we make it easy enough so that someone could easily understand this?
Well, maybe
yeah, go ahead.
Go ahead, Christina.
Okay. No, maybe just being able to see more information about some content types, or maybe just not being able to see some content types. But I would say that a good difference will be just, for example, on a recipe, someone with some role could be able to see, I don't know, for example, punctuation or time of cooking, I don't know, whatever.
Yeah, I guess there is different, like, let's say, just an idea what it could be. There could be like, so we have one user story for users being able to comment on site. So we could have a user story for like spam moderator who could like, what only thing they could do is log in, and then they could like remove comments. So there is like, because we might be building features like that. So there is this different aspects for like creating these user roles. But I think the more difficult point is that understanding that you can create users with different roles and that you can log in using them, and how to make it work. Because of like, you would have to first create the users because of our installation workflow doesn't really work very well if you have multiple users. And if you create them automatically, they wouldn't know what is the password of the users, so they can't log in using them. So this would require like either changes for the installation profile, or it would need like some changes for the current system so that they could log in using these users without password.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I know that tour module was discussed a little bit, but I wonder if actually if there needs to be explanation of what's going on, especially if the explanations might need to change a little depending on the context of what you're looking at. You know, does that need to effectively be included into the design
So
in some form?
So the tour module works so that it's depending on which page you can create. So you can create a tour on a page, but it doesn't take you from page to another. I think it's like that.
Mm.
So it's like if you go to the user's page, it could include a tour explaining how does the user's page work. So what it would just on that page, the tour module would tell that by clicking this button, you can create a new user. And then on that page, if you click that, we could explain like what is each of the form elements there.
And what about a top-level description? Would we just include that in the first tip? Is that what you're thinking? So, for example, if you did use Tor, the first tip might be longer. It contains more of an introduction of why what you need to think about on this page.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Because it may need to channel it. It may need to channel the message for different users, and I'm concerned that text won't necessarily be brief. So I could imagine, I don't know if there needs to be some kind of panel that's available as well. If so, it's that type of thing that we want to be thinking about building into the stories.
So have we, I don't think we've talked about the possibility of doing a multi-page tour, of trying to do something different from the tour that's in Drupal core.
Yeah, we haven't really discussed about that, but I think Gabor mentioned on one of the meetings that if we would want to do so, that would need like big changes for the tour module, how it is at this stage.
Mm-hmm.
And most likely, if we want to use it in any way, he said that we probably will have to make some changes for the tour module because it probably isn't that flexible in the end.
Okay.
But I mean, what you guys are describing sounds to me like something that tours that should be in core, not specifically related to this install profiler thing.
So I think what we've realized is that because this is a demo, a big part of the creating a demo is making the users feel comfortable on the site and understand what is actually happening on the site. And we've discussed that tour module could be one of the ways of like introducing the site for the user.
Yeah, but you're starting to go a little too far of like tours for user administration and all these back-end tasks, and you're gonna start trying to build tours for everything.
Yeah,
I should be really focused on things related to the content.
Yeah, this was more of, so we have one user story here that users need to have multiple different roles. So in order to be able to demonstrate that, we would have to go very deep in like the administrating UI. But now that I'm looking at it, it's only 2 steps down. So it's just people and then add user. But then the user understands that there is roles, but they don't understand that there is permissions that will set. Yeah. I think I believe that roles are not a good thing to start with for introducing them to Drupal, but
no, I don't think we need to. I think we could almost treat this as kind of like a WordPress sort of project and assume mostly just one person for the purpose of demonstration.
Yeah.
We're just going to keep expanding more and more and more into like every type of task somebody can do, and then they're going to be here forever.
Yeah, I think
Yeah.
especially if we're talking MVP, I mean, if we're going for publishers, I think eventually once everything else is done, it might be nice to show a bit about workflow and different types of roles just because that's so important in publishing, but I don't see that as MVP.
Yeah, all right.
I think just from the front end alone, without going into sort of particular feature tour pointers, if you like, just from seeing the front end, there's a lot that could be explained if it was just some kind of available panel of some form, just something that's available to explain the concepts behind what's going on as that initial introduction, and that could be a lot simpler.
Yeah, just explanation what you can see on the page, like.
Yeah, so just could be something that's as simple that slides down from the top, for example. But effectively what we're doing is we're saying, you know, introducing the concepts behind how the pages are built out in Drupal.
Yeah.
That's a lighter weight approach, and might be broader, in fact, in its appeal, initially at least.
Yeah, I
I
think
could imagine site builders obviously wanted to know a lot more, but
yeah. So the problem with Tor is that, like, it's pretty ambitious what it tries to do, in a way. Like create like pointers on the site and so on. So there would be easier approach for, like, from technical perspective. Obviously, it creates the challenge for whoever needs to write the texts for those, so that they don't get overly long and they are still understandable for the users. Because if we have to, like, there's going to be so many different levels of, like, knowledge that the users will have. But I liked what David said earlier, that we should treat this almost like as a very simple, like, WordPress site. Like, hide the most difficult features, at least at first, because that might be just too much to do to get started with. And the plan is still, at the moment, at least for me, to get the MVP in for 8.4, which gives us pretty much 6 months time, 6-7 months from now, to get some kind of MVP done. Yeah.
It'll be added later.
So about the user stories, I think we still need to work a little bit on that, especially creating some little bit more specific user stories, which will help creating the content model. So so Keith, you have been working on the content model previously. Was there any other materials that you found helpful while working on that?
I confess I didn't go look at it this week. Sorry about that. So this was discussing the farmers market in particular. I think it's actually represented here, though. I think we've got it all. So the conversations that we had over on the example content side of things, and Kevin was spinning that off into content model conversations. I was only sort of listening in on those, really, on the calls, but it was about what did we want to demonstrate from a content architecture perspective. So the idea of having vendors, and therefore obviously so you have a vendor type, listing those vendors, and obviously then having relationships being demonstrated by vendors having recipes. So the same parallel exists if we talk about the idea of there being articles relating to recipes, perhaps. So I think the same kind of relational content exists over in the publishing side of things.
Yeah,
or can easily be set up to do so anyway. So it was talking also about the content model was also there was conversation about keeping it as flexible as possible. So it was called vendor rather than perhaps stall holder was just one example off the top of my head. Just so that perhaps if the demo is sort of reaching that more site builder level, thinking about how can Drupal work for what project I might have in mind if I'm a site builder, then it's making sure that whatever concepts that are being introduced translate as effectively as possible. So it's the flexibility that's being seen. I can go in and create a taxonomy and it could be exactly what I need it to be.
Okay.
So that was one of the other things. Yeah. So it was demonstration of relational content, tagging content, users owning their content and being able to edit it. Those typical kind of patterns.
Yeah. And what
which I think we got here.
Yeah, and what I now realized was that the content model for the farmers market was not ready, but there was a lot of materials that came from the what was the other initiative called? There was
a tutorial. Yeah.
The tutorial. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, there was Anytown Farmers Market tutorial. That's exactly what we're basing all the work on. That's where obviously this design comes from. We were just playing around with how does this look and feel.
Yeah. So now we have to create our own one. Yeah. So after getting the user stories done, would anybody be interested in collaborating to create a first version of the content model?
What do you mean, content model first version?
So in order to be able to have default content on the site, we need to have a content model for the site. Like what type of content are we going to include on the site?
Can we just make that a Google document and work together on it?
Yeah, I guess so. Would anyone be interested to set up that?
You mean to prepare the document itself? Sure.
Okay.
Yeah, I can.
Do we want to set up a folder to store everything in, to keep all the documents together?
Yeah, we should do that because that makes following the progress easier. But to be honest, I don't know how to do that. So if someone knows how to do that, maybe someone can do it and share it for everyone and give permissions for like multiple people so that they can add stuff there.
Do we want to store it on the current Google account that's set up for this?
Oh, we could actually do it on that. Okay. Yeah, because we need to have like one UID one. So I can do it using that, but I'm not sure how to do it, so I will ask help from you.
Okay.
I'm not a pro with Google Drive.
I can help, but if you want next week, I can help with you. I can help you, but for now we can just create a document with that content.
I will try to create the folder myself, but Google Drive is not always as intuitive as I've expected it to be. Anything else we want to get updated today?
Not for that, but I think we should jump because we don't have so many time. We should jump to how to promote the search for the designer.
Yeah. So what has been done so far is that we've promoted we've created the post on the groups.drupal.org in the core group. it wasn't posted in any other groups. So some people are following that and got email through that. We've sent a channel notification in Slack. We've also tweeted of that, and the tweet has got some retweets, and which is good. Frontend United tweeted it, but is there some other media that we should still promote this on?
I suppose in the drop
Yes.
newsletter as well.
Oh,
Yeah, also.
Yeah, the weekly drop would be good.
I think it was in there today.
Yeah, it was already in there.
Okay,
Okay.
I missed that.
that's cool.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool. Yeah,
Oh,
it
yeah.
is there. It is the second link over there. Yeah.
That's
So
great.
is there any other places? Because these are very, like, these are all Drupal lists that we are connecting now. And it's like, in that group of people, there's not that many designers at all. So is there any other places where we would like to reach out?
I think we should try to contact Design for Drupal. I don't know who owns the account or who has access to it.
There's also open source design, where people post jobs for designers who are interested in helping open source projects.
Sounds good.
What's our jobs? Is that Twitter account?
Oh, I pasted, it's opensourcedesign.net.
Oh. Is it on the Hangouts?
Christina,
Oh, I
you
see.
have access to
Okay.
the Front-End United like communications mailing list?
Frontend United already tweeted it,
Okay.
but there's design for Drupal Boston, I guess.
Oh, I see. That's event.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm trying to. Here I have. Like, no. This one. But I don't know who runs it, who owns it.
So about the open source design.net, does anyone know how to get your thing listed here?
It's through, yeah, there's this form. I'll paste it in Slack.
Okay, cool. Okay, yeah. Okay. Yeah, I'm just wondering if that's the right audience, because it's like asking for how much can you pay. Oh, it's optional.
Yeah, they have free jobs listed too.
Yeah. So let's do that. I can fill the form based on the original post that we created. Let's see.
I can try to contact the owner for the Twitter account from Design for Drupal. I don't know who owns it, but I can try to find them. Or maybe some of you already know who has it or who.
I don't know, but Morten might know, because I think he's been in that event a couple of times.
Yeah, Danny Norden helps run it, so I'm contacting her right now to see if she. I'm just
Okay.
Okay. Great. That's that. If you have any ideas how to promote that easily, or know any other people who should be applying, let them know. It's a good opportunity for people.
Yeah.
If we don't have anything else to discuss today, I guess we can leave and meet next week and keep discussing on the Slack during the week.
As a recap, for next week, we need to do that document with the content types that we should have.
Yeah, so if you could create just like a document where we can start collaborating that, so we could do some of the work during the week.
Okay.
Yeah.
Sure.
And then we can discuss what we've worked on the next call.
Okay.
Yeah. So thanks everyone for showing up, and see you next week.